Viewers, Muslim groups have come out and mocked claims made by Hindu petitioners that a Shivling has been discovered in the middle of a water tank that is used by Namazis as a place for ablutions before offering prayers. Now, viewers, many Muslim groups and opposition parties have said that the alleged Shivling is a disused fountain. It's a water fountain that has been part of the structure of the Gyanvapi Mosque since antiquity. These individuals have said that the Hindu petitioners have tried to spread fake news to hype their claims over the Gyanvapi Mosque, conveniently forgetting that during this survey, viewers, several motifs have emerged from the building that suggests that it was a Hindu temple, specifically a temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. Now listen to the Muslim side that has sparked a huge debate by coming out and mocking the claims made by the Hindu petitioners on the back of what they saw. And those are the pictures of that particular well. You remember, viewers, I had put this out last night on India Upfront. Listen in.
जिस तरीके से बाबरी मस्जिद को छीना गया, रात के अंधेरे में 1949 में दिसंबर में मूर्तियां रखी गई, फिर उस मस्जिद को बंद कर दिया गया, पूजा शुरू कर दी गई, वो ही टेक्स्ट बुक तरीके से उसी चीज को अपनाया जा रहा है ज्ञानवापी मस्जिद को छीनने के लिए। जो बीजेपी कोशिश कर रही है, हर चीज को किस राह पर लेकर जाना चाह रही है, हम समझते हैं किस राह पर, क्योंकि वो जान चुके हैं कि अब उनके पास मुद्दा कुछ भी नहीं है, तो निकाल दो, हर चीज मुगलों पे डाल दो और अपने आप को बचा लो। इस फैसले ने बिल्कुल 1949 का जो अयोध्या का जो फैसला था, जो आदेश था, उसकी याद ताजा कर दी। वहां भी यह हुआ था कि मूर्तियां प्रकट हो गई, रामचंद्र जी प्रकट हो गए। मेरा इरादा किसी की आस्था को ठेस पहुंचाने का नहीं है, लेकिन सवाल जो खड़ा होता है वो सवाल पूछा जाना चाहिए, पूरा देश पूछेगा
कि इनको बोलो एक ही बार हमें मस्जिदों की लिस्ट बताओ जिस पे आपकी नजर है, क्योंकि मैंने पहले भी कहा हम जहां सजदा करेंगे हमारा अल्लाह वहीं है।
तो पूरे देश की खुदाई हो और पूरे देश की कर दें बर्बादी। जब बर्बादी पर तुले ही हैं ये देश और जनता नहीं समझ पा रही है, तो हम बर्बादी तो रोक तो सकते नहीं, तो हर जगह खुदाई कर दे, पूरे देश की खुदाई शुरू कर दिया जाए।
The Hindu petitioners are hitting back, saying that this is a deliberate attempt to assault their faith. Listen in.
आप कह रहे हैं बाबा मिल गए, कौन से बाबा मिल गए? बताइए।
जिसकी नंदी प्रतीक्षा कर रही थी
वो बाबा मिल गए।
हाँ।
क्या आज का दिन कितना बड़ा दिन मानते हैं?
बहुत बड़ा दिन मानते हैं हम सब लोग। जैसे ही वह समय आया, मस्जिद प्रांगण हर हर महादेव के नारों से घोषित हो गया।
कल का आदेश एब्सोल्युटली इलीगल है। कोर्ट के पास इस बात की कोई सॉलिड एविडेंस नहीं थी कि दौरान कमीशन वहां पर कोई शिवलिंग तथाकथित शिवलिंग पाया गया है। क्या उनके पास आधार था? सर्विस कमिश्नर इज नॉट अवेलेबल ऑन द रिकॉर्ड ऑफ द कोर्ट। हाउ विष्णुजन बिलीव दैट देयर वाज अ शिवलिंग? अगर वो कहते हैं वो शिवलिंग है, मैं कहता हूँ दैट इज ए फाउंटेन।
If it is a fountain, then there will be a proper management, water management system, and the water will go out and like there will be a management system for a fountain. By no stretch of imagination, the way I have seen the spot situation, on ground situation, it can be called a fountain. Number two, just near the Shivling, there is a well, which was the original well of the temple. So according to me, what I have seen on ground and on the spot, in my belief and faith, this is a Shivling. Definitely it is subject to evidence. The trial court will go further and see that what is the depth of the Shivling. But this Shivling is just opposite Nandi. That's the most remarkable thing.
The matter has even reached the Supreme Court, as the Muslim side wants the top court to halt all proceedings as it, they claim, contravenes the provisions of the Places of Worship Act 1991. But a bench led by Justice Chandrachud and Justice Narasimha has refused to issue a stay Instead, the bench has ordered the local authorities to secure the purported Shivling. The Hindu side will be heard on Thursday, May 19 next. In the interim, viewers, the Hindu side is pointing to what it believes is ample supporting evidence to claim that a Shivling undeniably exists at the site, as Lord Shiva's most devout follower and steed, Nandi the bull, directly overlooks onto the Vazu tank, which is a short indication that the Shivling or a statue of Lord Shiva stood there. The pictures accessed by Times Now certainly bear this out, if one were to purely go by custom, tradition, and of course, mythology. Listen to this report filed by Priya Behar.
Here is an aerial view that will put into perspective for our viewers what is located where. This part you see is the Kashi Vishwanath temple as it exists right now. This portion here is the statue of Nandi that has been now mentioned multiple times. This particular Nandi, if I could zoom in on that, there is a bar, there are bars in front of it, then there is a wall. Remember, this is the wall that the Hindu side in the latest petition today wants demolished because they want more proofs to come out. What happened yesterday? Look at the positioning. Right in front of this Nandi statue is the Vazukhana. This is where the ablutions are performed. Times Now also got our viewers exclusive images of that particular Vazukhana inside where ablutions are performed. And here, Rahul, is where the Shivling was found, or so the Hindu side claims that they have spotted a Shivling, and is being contested by the other side as being just a disused, dysfunctional fountain. When you talk of tradition, when you talk of convention, why is this particular positioning important? Because as per Hindu tradition, whenever there is a Nandi bull, it needs to be facing the Shivling, and because this direction directly corresponds with that tradition and convention, the Hindu side is saying that what we saw must be, should be a Shivling.
Must be, should be a Shivling. However, viewers, the other side denies it. Let me open this up. Amit Malviya joins the debate, as does Ishkaran Bhandari, Sai Deepak. But let me begin first with Tehseen Poonawala and Zeba Yasmeen. Waris Pathan also with us in just a few moments. Zeba Yasmeen, let me ask you, you're the spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. There has been an attempt to try and deny that the Gyanvapi Mosque stands on top of a desecrated mandir. The extent to which this has gone was apparent when minutes after or hours after the Hindu side came out and said that they saw a Shivling, that Baba wahan par dig gaye. There was a concerted attempt to say that the Shivling was actually a fountain. Now the Supreme Court has also come out and said that we are interested in securing the Shivling. And there is no bar on the fact that a survey can be conducted. So Zeba Yasmeen, why is this attempt being made to mock the believers, the Bhakts?
It is not a matter of research for Samajwadi Party. It is court which has to decide, and there is a panel, there is a surveyor who is going to decide this. See, Samajwadi Party stands with the court and the justice they give. We are with both the sides. We stand with the Hindu sentiments as well, because they believe that mandir was demolished and masjid was built, and we stand with the Muslim side as well, because they have been offering namaz there for a long time now. So we want the matter to be investigated, and then we should leave the things on court. Instead of talking about these matters, we have certain many other issues we can talk about. Like every day, some of the other thing price is increasing, and we are, you know, getting diverted from the point. This matter court has to decide. I and you cannot decide across the table. But yes, we being a citizen of India, responsible citizen of India, we stand with the court and the justice. This is what Samajwadi Party
Justice, if you say that you stand with justice, let me ask you very clearly. And this is a question that goes out to you, Zeba Yasmeen. Do you support the claim of the Hindu side on the Gyanvapi Mosque? There are some Muslims, like Mr. Waris Pathan and his party mates, who say Aurangzeb is a hero. Do you support that claim, that Aurangzeb is a hero? And if not, why? If yes, why? You said you support both sides. So which side do you support?
As I said, I support both the sides. Even the petitioner, they must be having some substance. Okay. That is why they have put up the petition. Okay. But yes, court has to decide. And the person you're talking about, let me complete. The person you're talking about, who is, you know, a follower of Aurangzeb, we don't know the person and we hardly care what the person speaks.
So you're saying, Zeba Yasmeen, that people who are eulogizing Aurangzeb, they are wrong. You don't support them. And why are they wrong?
I don't support anyone who just talk about one community, one religion.
No, I'm telling
we
you,
are a political party.
I'm telling
we are with every
that
religion,
Waris
every
Pathan
community.
has come out, his bosses have come out, especially Akbaruddin, who visited Aurangzeb's grave and paid a massive tribute. So I'm asking you, Miss Yasmeen, do you endorse this move? Do you believe that Aurangzeb is a bigot? Or he is not a bigot? Or do you believe he is worthy of praise? Very straight question to you.
And I'm giving the straight answer. I've also heard the speech, what he said yesterday. See, instead of provoking Muslims, Muslims are not bananas. Instead of provoking them, you can ask them to follow the judgment of court and have patience and believe your judiciary system.
Okay, Waris Pathan, why are you provoking Muslims? Why are you doing this, and in the process also hurting Hindu sentiments by celebrating a bigot, a person who prosecuted and persecuted alike Hindus?
Well, we are following the constitution, following the rule of law, and going on his mazar was not against the constitution. We did not disobey the law. If you feel that we should not go there, make a law. Who stops Modi from, who prevents Modi from making a law that you should not go there? And the ASI has declared the monument as a protected monument. So what is the difficulty under whom the ASI is? It is under the Modi government. Make a law. But now here we are here to discuss on the Gyanvapi issue. See, that is why I say they don't follow the law. They just want to see that the country runs on the basis of faith without following the constitution. And that is what happened in Gyanvapi. Without following the due process of law, that there is a 1991 Act, Places of Worship Act, which says that any monument, places of worship prior to 15 August 1947, their nature and character cannot be changed. What was the need of getting the order to go there for survey and do the videography? And what happened? Videography was being done, 10:30 they rushed to the court without hearing the other side, the Muslim side, without the court commissioner going there. Petitioner goes there, one of the advocates' father approaches the court and obtains an ex parte order. And the Supreme Court says an order.
Waris Pathan, 2 points to you.
Let us see what the court passes order.
2 points to you.
You can offer prayers there.
You say you are following the constitution. In the Ayodhya judgment, right after that, Mr. Owaisi came out.
Right.
Mr. Owaisi came out and said that he had problems with this judgment and that the judges themselves, the justices themselves went by faith, not by the law. And you urged Muslims to not go out there and accept the verdict. These are his words, not mine. Number one. So in that case, you didn't follow.
You didn't follow.
No, the constitution constitutionally mandated provision that we must obey the law as interpreted by the courts. Number one. Number two, how does the survey change the status of this particular monument? How does it change it?
Because the 1991 Act, Places of Worship Act, clearly says that you cannot change the nature, character of the place
How is it being
of worship,
changed?
and the Supreme Court has endorsed it during the hearing of the Babri Masjid title.
No, they did not endorse it. They haven't gone into the merits of it. 1 minute. I want to come back.
Because we have seen that.
How is it? How is the status changed? कैसे बदल गया status? बताइए.
The same, no, they want to, the same
they
thing.
Want to. They want to is a different
Babri
thing.
issue.
How is it changed the status? You tell me this now.
All of a sudden.
Since you believe the constitution in the law, how is the status changed as of now?
Their intentions are clear. Their intentions
Don't go by intentions,
What happened in
Go by the law. You say you follow the constitution. I'm asking you give me a lawful incident of how this has changed the status. Don't say intention. Pathan Sahab, you're an advocate.
When the act is passed by the parliament, I would like to ask the BJP
I am asking you, how has the survey changed the status of this particular monument? How has it changed it?
First and foremost, why should a survey be allowed?
That's an immaterial question.
Why
I'm asking you, how has the status changed?
1991 clarifies it.
Dekhiye, Zeba Yasmeen has called you a banana. She has called you a banana. She has called you a banana.
Who calls?
And you are sounding like a banana.
Banana.
She said, all the people who eulogize Aurangzeb are bananas. You are a banana. So now you answer her, why are you not a banana?
These people, Rahul, if I'm not mistaken, I think she is from the Samajwadi Party, if I'm not mistaken. The Samajwadi Party, what did they do? They took this 85% of the Muslim vote in the UP election.
It doesn't matter, sir. Don't go into all of that. I'm asking you. You said you are a law-abiding citizen of this country. You believe in the Constitution.
Akhilesh was silent. Today he is silent. And what are you?
Waris Pathan, she said that people like you are bananas.
If I am banana.
So you have gone bananas? You are misleading your own community. As the Samajwadi Party spokesperson is saying, you are inciting them. You are a threat to society. And unfortunately, your boss doesn't want to come on a debate and argue with me because he's worried that I will expose him. So he doesn't. At least you are there. So I congratulate you.
Yesterday present
now 1 minute. Let me open this up. Let me open this up. आप मेरे साथ करिए ना. ओवैसी साहब को बोलिए मेरे साथ आए debate में, and we will have a strong debate. And we will go point by point. But he won't. He won't. He runs from me. He runs from me. Amit Malviya wants to come in. Amit Malviya, I want to bring you in.
Yesterday,
AIMIM says that you are invested in changing the status of this particular monument.
And if you did
Owaisi Sahab, you come. Owaisi Sahab ko boliye, come and debate with me. Come and debate with me. Come and debate with me. If he has points which are going to hold up in a debate, come and debate. Don't run from me. Don't run from me. I have exposed you. I will expose your boss. Now 1 minute. Amit Malviya, you are being accused. You are being accused.
I am saying
the Hindu petitioners are being accused of going out there and spreading fakery, lies, whipping up a Babri Masjid. According to Owaisi, Babri Masjid-like environment. Please answer.
Well, Rahul, couple of points. First of all, it was very good to see the Samajwadi Party spokesperson speak with as much defense for the Hindu side as they are doing for the Muslim, assuming this is the party that fired on the car works and killed over 30 of them. These are signs of changing times. Second, I don't know where did Mr. Asauddin Owaisi get his barrister degree from, because he neither understands the constitution nor does he understand law. The Places of Worship Act is a 2-page legislation, and I'm sure he has not read it, and if he has read, he hasn't understood. There are exceptions to the act, and I will just point them out to you for your viewers. It says that ancient and historical monument or an archaeological site that remains covered in the Asian Monuments and Archaeological Sites Act 1958 are exempt. It also goes on to say that matters that are sub judice prior to 1991 are exempt. It also says that if there are matters which are settled between individuals on themselves and later come into dispute, they are also exempt. So these three categories very clearly exclude the Gyanvapi temple issue from the Worship Act of 1991, as it would thousands of other temples which predate the 1991 cutoff. Now, having said that, the courts have taken cognizance of it. The trial court has looked at the evidence. The Supreme Court has refused to intervene because it finds possibly merit in what the trial court has put to them.
But
this is the legal side of the argument, and it is unfortunate that a legal argument or a legal case is being communalized by the Congress Party and the AIMIM. Second, issues of history and historical facts.
It's better
the truth
BJP is expected to clear its
that
stand.
it is very well recorded
which side it stands with.
That Aurangzeb destroyed the temple and built a mosque over it. There are overwhelming evidences, and you don't need a videography to know that the mosque has been built on a temple.
Okay, let me ask you.
There are temple.
Fair enough. We don't need any convincing. I'm going to bring in Supreme Court Advocate Sai Deepak in 30 seconds. But Amit Malviya, I want to ask you a follow-up question. Do you believe that the 1991 Act is maintainable? It's a simple question to you.
Good question.
Look, I pointed out the exceptions to the 1991
No, forget the exceptions. I'm asking you on principle, is it maintainable, yes or not? Because you have been asked by the Supreme Court on a petition that has been filed, a PIL that has been filed, to clarify your stand. What is your stand on this particular act? Just a simple question on principle.
When the 1991 Act was passed, it pertained to pilgrims and burial grounds. It is a state subject. However, the central government at that point in time, the Congress, used its power under Entry 97 and pushed through this legislation.
Okay.
The BJP
so will you reverse it?
legislation on the floor of the House.
You opposed it. You opposed it. So are we going to see it repealed? Okay, look, that's a
study history.
Okay, madam.
We need no need to
Madam Yasmeen,
get anything from Amit Malviya.
He's saying that they oppose it, that they oppose this particular act. So I want to ask you then, Ms. Yasmeen, do you oppose it?
The act was made for us and we accept it. Now they are into majority.
Okay, you
if they
accept
want
it.
to bring
Fair
any
enough.
change,
Samajwadi Party has no problems with the act. The BJP has a problem with the act. Hopefully they will disclose their stand. The matter is sub judice. They will disclose their stand in court. Parallelly, I am told, I'm not sure about this, Sai Deepak is here, he can elucidate, and so is Ishkaran Bhandari, that the government can reappeal this act.
But now the intention
One
of
second,
the
madam.
is
One second. Let me bring in Supreme Court Advocate Sai Deepak. You made your point. You support the act. Not a problem. You are right within your rights to do so. There is a matter pending in court. It's being advocated. Supreme Court Advocate Sai Deepak with us. Ishkaran Bhandari also with us. The two lawyers, as well as Tehseen Poonawala, who's a political analyst. Now, Mr. Sai Deepak, is this bogey of the 1991 Act, this Place of Worship Act, being used to mock Hindus and their faith? It's a simple, straightforward question.
See, before we all go bananas on this particular topic, let's remember one thing, that section 4.3, which Mr. Malviya was kind enough to cite, specifically carves out certain exemptions.
Yes.
So far, I have not seen anybody explain how is it that the orders of the court or any of the reliefs that have been sought by the petitioners before the court contravene the provisions of the Act, and specifically 4.3. So the only broad argument we've been told so far over and over again is that there is an Act, this is in violation. How? And unfortunately, even certain lawyers have not able to support that position. Perhaps as opposed to reading the Act in English, they must read it in Nastaliq script. Second, as far as the principle itself is concerned, I believe very clearly that this legislation is a blot on the rights of communities which are affected under Articles 25 and 26. It's not a question of whether you have to give them back their places. You have to realize that it takes away their right to establish their case in court, which is to say, the litigation that Hindus were happy to suffer from 1858 to 2019 is the very same right that they asked with respect to other places to say, we are not asking you to give it back on face value on the basis of our claims. Allow us to prove it in the same manner that we did in Ayodhya, using primary evidence and archaeological evidence. So that basic right is taken away. 3, not a single baseline study was undertaken by the Narasimha Rao government, I'm sorry to say, despite all his achievements, prior to the passing of this legislation to find out in how many places are there contested claims, what are these disputed structures, what is the status of litigation or claims with respect to each of these structures. Therefore, on the face of it, this was rammed in. The BJP walked out from that particular session. And one clarification, this falls under the concurrent list because then Mr. Chidambaram, during the course of proceedings in 1991, specifically pointed out that this comes under entry 27 because it speaks of religious institutions. Okay? Therefore, it is squarely within the domain of the center as well as much as it is within the domain of the state. Now, 4, according to me, this matter need not suffer, let's say, elapsation of time before the court. It is possible for the center to repeal this without a problem. On the face of it, there is no problem at all. What the legislature giveth can taketh away, period. As far as I am concerned, the existing action or proceedings are not in violation. In principle, this particular legislation is a violation of Articles 25 and 26. The center need not wait for the Supreme Court to come out with a verdict because this legislation is squarely under entry 27 of the concurrent list.
Tehseen Poonawala, before I bring in Ishkaran Bhandari, I want you to come in on this. The accusation is that you rammed this down. Was it because you wanted to appease a certain community, play divisive politics? And I also want to ask you a very specific question. It's interesting that an exemption was made for Ayodhya. So Ram Bhakts got their temple. But an exemption has not been made for Shiv Bhakts or Krishna Bhakts or Sikhs. I'm charging the Congress party tonight with trying to divide Hindus, being prejudiced against Hindus, even though the aspiring number 1 of the Congress, Rahul Gandhi, calls himself a Shiv Bhakt. If he is, does he believe that Shiv Bhakts do not deserve entry into the Gyanvapi Mosque to offer prayers? 3 questions, and please answer them.
Specifically, let's get to each one of them. Good evening to you, to all my fellow panelists, and to all the viewers. Point number 1, let's go by your hypothetical, rather juvenile but hypothetical evidences that the Congress and Rahul Gandhi then okay, you have nothing to substantiate for it. It's an allegation you make. You keep making allegations. But is the Honorable Supreme Court and respected Honorable ex-Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi also anti-Hindu that he upheld the Act of 1991? No. And that's in the written judgment. He also went on to say, and the unanimous judgment went on to say, the act of demolishing the disputed site at the Mahadev Mosque was an illegal act. That's a written judgment. So, is the court also anti-Hindu? I'm sure you won't say that. Now, let's come to the second point. I will get to my friend Sai Deepak, what he says. While I agree with what Sai Deepak says, that what Parliament can give, Parliament can take away. So, I concur with Sai Deepak and with Zeba Yasmeen that let Mr. Modi bring in a law and try and change this law. If Mr. Modi deems it fit, he has an absolute majority in the Lok Sabha, and he is the Vice President of India chairing the Rajya Sabha, and he'll manage it in the Rajya Sabha because we know how they pass laws there. So, or he'll suspend a few MPs. So that's not a problem. They can do it. They have a group majority. But let's come to what is the meat of the issue, or what is the substance of the issue. Now, if you are saying that, look, the Muslim objection is wrong, are you saying today, the court, and I quote from Times Now, and your correspondent was wrong in suspending the court-appointed Advocate Commissioner Ajay Mishra for leaking this information of this Shivling being found, because even in the Times Now headlines which you had say it is a claim made by the Hindu side. It is not a claim that the court has accepted.
Excuse me.
Please allow me to talk.
We are talking about the 1991 Act. We are not talking about what is going on in court. So let me just
me about what is going on because I'm going to expose you.
See,
unless you're scared of
you can be, no, 1 second, there's no truth.
Then allow me
the
to
fact
talk.
is that the man has, no, 1 minute.
No,
the man has come up, no, 1 second, Tehseen Poonawala.
You are interrupting so viewers don't hear the truth. Don't interrupt me. Let your viewers hear the truth because you're a fair journalist. Even you say, even your channel says, even Times of India says, even Economic Times say, this is a claim made by the Hindu side. Fair enough. It's a claim made by the Hindu side, not accepted by the court. On a claim made by the Hindu side, without hearing the Muslim side, you are now saying that a Shivling was found. There's no substance to this. And what the Honorable
Mr.
Supreme Court today said
I don't know
was,
what you're on to. Please, 1 second. I don't know where you are going with this argument.
Was Ajay Kumar Mishra not suspended?
Completely just.
Was he suspended or no?
Listen to me, Tehseen.
Was he suspended? Yes or no, sir?
Allow me to speak.
Did he leak
Allow me
information
to speak.
without it being allowed?
Allow me to speak,
The photograph that you're showing.
Can you
was it
allow me
allowed?
to speak? Can you allow me to speak?
Sure, but then you allow me to rebut you.
Yes, you can keep rebutting me. That's not a problem.
But you keep interrupting me.
Listen to me, Tehseen Poonawala.
Sure.
Calm down. Okay.
Very calm.
The question is, yes, a particular person leaked information and he has been pulled up and sacked from his or removed from his job for it. We hold no cudgels for him. Okay, number one. Number two, it is a claim.
Correct.
Number three, the court has not disreputed the claim.
Yes.
In fact, even the Supreme Court has secured the claim by saying we are securing the Shivling. And we are also allowing, in the interest of balance, people to do their namaz. Who's hiding these facts? Now let me tell you what Tehseen Poonawala is hiding.
Let me come in. Allow me to come in. Allow me to come in there. Allow me to come in there, please. Vishal Singh, the other court-appointed surveyor, talking to your channel said that what Ajay Kumar Mishra did and the so-called claims all through yesterday was all bogus.
Okay,
that's Vishal Singh saying
Poonawala, it might be bogus. Can you give me 30 seconds? No one is denying this.
Saying it's bogus. Why are you having a hypothetical discussion on something that's not happened?
No, 1 second. Tehseen Poonawala.
Why are you having a hypothetical discussion?
One second. There is a claim that is being made. The claim is
which has not been accepted by the court.
Tehseen Poonawala, allow me.
Has the court accepted the claim? Yes or no?
The court has not rejected the claim. Has it rejected it? It has not rejected it. It is secured the claim.
Because it's not open.
It is secured the claim.
It was a secret report.
No, 1 second.
It was a secret
I'm not
report.
going to allow Tehseen Poonawala to divert this into one drain pipe. One drain pipe. No, 1 second. Tehseen Poonawala, 1 second, please. If you're going to keep interrupting me, I won't. I just will not. I will lower your fader. I'm counting till 3. Please. It's not right. 1, 2, 3. Silence. Okay. Now, viewers, there is a slight of hand here. What is Tehseen Poonawala saying? Tehseen Poonawala is counting down the clock. He didn't answer my question at all. And he's laughing because he knows. And I'm not going to fall for it. We've been too often on the same panel, and that's one of the reasons I don't like to invite you on the panel, because there's no productive conversation we can have with you, because you don't have a point. Nonetheless, you're there, and we've accepted that you're there, and therefore we must debate with you. God knows why. Number one, first and foremost, and it's most important, the question that I asked was, did you appease a particular sect of people by getting this particular act passed? No answers on that. Number two, why did you divide Hindus? It's not as if, viewers, the Congress has no track record. In the last Karnataka elections, they wanted to also divide the community along Lingayats. So it's not as if the Congress doesn't want to divide Hindus. That is their bread and butter politics. No answer on that. After all, why should only Ram Bhakts have their way? Why shouldn't Sai Deepak have his way about some issue that he finds is an error of judgment or a historical mistake? And therefore, viewers, you have to understand the machination here. The Congress will never admit to it. The truth is a problem. Ishkaran Bhandari, let me bring you in. Rahul. You have heard Tehseen Poonawala rant about some non-issue. Today the issue is, has this particular act been used to mock the Hindu faith? It's very, very simple. And is it being used to do so? Ishkaran Bhandari.
Rahul,
Rahul, firstly, there is a lot of misrepresentation which is being going on, and a lot of people have started buying it. The Supreme Court has never upheld the Places of Worship Act in Ram Janambhoomi case.
Yes.
Supreme Court decides an issue which is before it, on which an affidavit, counter affidavit is filed. Arguments are advanced. The constitutionality of this act was never in that case a question, because the act has a specific exception for that case. So there was no occasion to examine the constitutional validity of it. Secondly, if the Supreme Court had upheld it, they wouldn't have recently issued notices on the constitutional validity of the act. So that is a complete, utter misrepresentation going on. Every part of the judgment is not something which is binding. There is a lot of obiter. All that has been said on Places of Worship Act, in my interpretation, is an obiter, because it was not a central question before the court to decide that dispute. There was no counter affidavit filed on those constitutional validity. Now let us come to the case at hand. Please understand what has happened today. Whether the Section 4 subclause 3 exception applies or not, I think the simpler and cleaner view is that BJP should repeal the law, not only on the grounds that it is dividing this or it is unbeing Congress, on the simple ground that to me it is a communal piece of legislation which deprives a Hindu from access to justice. It is violative of my Article 32, my 21, my 14, my 25 to 28. There are n number of judgments of the Supreme Court going on from land acquisition matters where they say judicial review cannot be excluded. This act excludes judicial review. I could have a watertight case. I will not win the case because this law prevents me from going to court to prove my case. We are a country which gave Ajmal Kasab a trial, a non-citizen, and a Hindu here cannot have a trial, cannot have his case in court because of this law. So I do believe BJP should itself repeal it. It is essential to do it. Now let's come to the last part of it. The Supreme Court has clearly protected the area where Shivling is found. So whatever they say here that there was no evidence or there was evidence, prima facie, the trial court was satisfied. Daily on prima facie basis, on balance of convenience, trial court passes ex parte orders in emergent situations, and that is exactly what was done. And the Supreme Court today has refused to interfere in it. They should accept it.
Well, viewers, that's the legal point from Sai Deepak and Ishkaran Bhandari. There can be no argument. We've had Mr. Waris Pathan with his banana interpretation of the law. We've had Tehseen Poonawala, who plumbed another drain pipe, which is choked full of all sorts of illogicities. You've had Samajwadi Party, who has at least been honest here, said we stand with both, but we also support the 1991 Act. The BJP must come out and repeal this Act. Amit Malviya, the matter would end. There'd be no tension, no problem, none of this. Just repeal it. And you already have opposed it. So perhaps that is what you will do in the days ahead. I don't know.